Hey, there we go. All right. All right. Hello. Thank you for joining SDA Seattle for today's presentation on graphic design for dummies, presented by Josh King from Tinderbox Marketing. We are recording this session, and the link will be available to registrants in a few days. We'll upload it to our chapter's YouTube channel so you can watch it again. We are muting everybody's line, so unless you have a speaking part, please keep yourself muted. It helps with the background noise, dogs and so forth in the background. Please use the Google form link that I sent out to sign in for this. We keep track of attendees. If you need a certificate of attendance, make sure you check the little yes box, and we'll send that out to you pretty soon as well, in case you need that for some kind of certification. We will be using the chat box to collect your questions, so please make sure you've got that window open somewhere on the side so that you can pop in any questions as they come up. Josh, I assume we'll answer those at some point, but I'll keep it. Yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe not. Depends on how good the questions are. And that is it from my side. Emily, are you able to introduce Josh, or do you want me to?
Oh, sure. I'll do a very informal introduction if that's okay.
Works for me.
I don't have my notes in front of me, but I do know Josh. So hi, everybody. We are in for a treat today. Josh King is the lead over at Tinderbox Marketing. He supports small businesses achieve their marketing goals. And I'll speak for Gretchen and I at Bernardo Wills Architects. We brought Josh in to do a review of all of our presence, basically. So he dug into the internet to see where we were popping up and where we weren't, and has really helped us identify areas of growth. And it's been a huge benefit to us. And he also supports us in other ways, like creating graphics, social marketing plan and analytics. And so Josh is really my go-to for questions like this. So we're in for a treat. Thank you, Josh, for taking the time to be with us. Sorry if I missed any critical information in your introduction, but really appreciate Josh's expertise, and can't wait to see what you have in store for us.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily, for that. That was probably way more of an introduction than I need or deserve. One thing before we start, I am not actually like a graphic design professional. Part of what I do at Tinderbox Marketing is I help businesses, market their business. In some cases, it's as a consultant where I just come in and guide them. In some cases, I'm managing their marketing for them. And doing that, and I got that start as a marketing director. That was one of my first jobs in marketing for a local ski hill. Part of being in marketing is you have to become a Jack or a Jill of all trades, right? You have to become really decent at a lot of things. So one of the things that has come up just naturally over the years through what I've been doing is graphic design. My first experience in graphic design was working with Photoshop 6. So if anybody is aware or familiar with Photoshop, that dates me. Probably gives you a pretty good idea of how old I might be, or at least how long I've been in marketing. So Photoshop is a tool that is widely used in graphic design with graphic designers. The other one, the companion piece to that, is Illustrator. There are some other tools up there, but those are the two big ones. Those tools are really, really good, but they also take a deep knowledge to use. They are big programs with lots of tools and lots of functionality. And being a marketer and trying to be pretty good at a lot of things, and it's difficult to become really great at something like Photoshop or Illustrator. Thankfully, over the years, there's been a lot of tools that have come out that have made that easier. And one of those is Canva. We'll spend a ton of time today talking about Canva and what you can do with it. There are some other tools that we can use, and we'll talk a little bit about those. But before we do any of that, I think it's important to sort of set the stage and make sure that we're all using the same language. And as I was telling Carrie, she was a little worried I hadn't signed on as early as I said I would. I wasn't going to use a deck, and then I decided maybe it's probably a good idea to use a deck. And then I'll make sure that this gets passed to Carrie, and then she can send it to all of you, because I think it's important to know that graphic designers are like anything else. It's like being nautical. It has its own language, its own terminology. And to give you a little bit of that terminology might help you when it comes to talking to a graphic designer or working with a marketing person or developing your brand and your presence. So I'm going to do my best here. I haven't played around with GoToMeeting a ton, so I'll just rely on you and chat and the thumbs up and all of those tools to get me going here. So I'm hoping right now that you can see my deck and it's not in presentation mode. Can you all see that? Okay. So now we're going to really take a leap and hope that you can see it when I press play. And then I know I'm going to have to probably swap displays. Oh, where'd you go? Okay. And swap. No, what? Why did you bring in my presenter notes? There we go. Okay. See, pretty good at a lot of things, not very great at all things, right? Okay. So let's just walk through the only things I'm using the deck for is to give you the bullet points that live in my brain so that you can have them and you don't have to worry about writing them down. The first thing is why does protecting your brand matter? And I lead with this because this sets up everything we're going to talk about with Canva and everything we're going to talk about with graphic design for dummies. Graphic design is really the idea that you need a graphic, you need something created for your brand, right? Whether it's a flyer or a business card or a brochure or a website, those are all things that most businesses these days are using. Now, as the world has expanded and the internet has expanded, we have to include social media, we have to include all kinds of online platforms, right? If you're in architecture or construction, you have to think about those other platforms that live in your world. I'm struggling to think of the one, it's Nextdoor's the neighborhood app, but I know there's one of them, it's similar to that. It'll come to my brain. But all the review sites, right? Google now has a platform that you can access through Google My Business to claim your map listing, right? All these places also require or ask that you upload a profile picture or your logo, or you can even in some cases tweak your colors. So starting with protecting your brand tees up everything else that we're going to talk about. So the first piece is protecting your brand matters because no one else is going to do it for you, right? If you go to, I will use Nike and McDonald's as the top examples, but if you walk into a Nike store or into a McDonald's, they all, for the most part, will have a similar look and feel. And that's not by accident, that's on purpose, right? And they're very particular. If you also look closely into Nike and McDonald's, you will always see, especially with those big brands, whether it's the TM, the Circle C, the Circle R, you will always see that icon indicating that that brand is protected. So they're very serious about it. You can't just use the Nike swoosh without permission. One of the biggest ones that lives out there is actually college basketball and the NCAA tournament. They have not only trademarked all of their logos or registered all their logos, they've actually trademarked a lot of the terms that we just throw around. Final Four, Sweet 16. You can't actually use those terms without violating their trademark. It's kind of wacky. FF is also one, the Final Four, they've registered that. So they went out and protected their brand because they understand how important it is. Otherwise, everybody would be using it to sell cars or to sell food or drinks or whatever. So the first step is no one's going to do this for you. You have to be the one in control. You have to be the one who protects it. Nike wasn't built in a day. We all understand that, you know, the swoosh represents Nike, but use the chat and tell me, think about walking into a Nike store and you see all the clothes and then in the back, usually you see their wall of sneakers. What is a color that you think of when you think of Nike? And while you're doing that, Emily remembered it was Glassdoor. So thanks, Emily. Yeah, Emily got orange. That's it. Orange. We all think of orange. Now, if you've spent any time in a Nike store, you'll know they also have sneaker boxes in black. And that's usually their basketball shoes. They also have sneaker boxes in teal, which is their skateboarding brand. Here's another game. Think of McDonald's and the Golden Arches. Usually their logo is in yellow and white. But what's another color that you think about or associate with McDonald's? Someone other than Emily. Answer that one. Red, that's right. Hopefully my display didn't go around. Apparently I'm not allowed to click on anything else here. Yeah, red, that's exactly right. Those things didn't happen in a single day. Nike has spent the better part of 40 years building their brand. McDonald's has spent the better part of, what is it, 60 years now, building their brand. It didn't happen on accident. It happened very intentionally, all about controlling it and protecting it. The other thing that happens when you protect your brand is you create a look that's professional and real. I'm sure if you think about it, you can, and typically restaurants fall into this category, but you can think about a business that when you first walked in or when you first encountered the business, the impression that you got wasn't a good one, right? It didn't feel professional. I have walked into so many restaurants going, is it safe to eat here? Or is this real? Or this can't be good, right? This isn't going to be any good. And I have other workshops where I just really harp on restaurants because they're the guiltiest, but then they're also sometimes the best examples. We all have our favorite restaurant, and if you think about why it's your favorite, a lot of times it has to do more with the space and the branding than it really does have to do with the food. We all have that hole in the wall place maybe that we can think of, but typically it's that whole presentation that a restaurant puts on that makes us feel good about it. And that's exactly how branding works for marketing. Whatever you do when it comes to your brand, it's all about the impression that you're leaving with people. So having a brand and protecting it helps you look professional and real and like a trustworthy business. The other thing is, and I read this as I was kind of getting ready for this, is that everything that you do, especially as it relates to marketing and graphic design, everything you do sends a message. The question you have to ask is, what message do you want to send? So what is branding? Let's just give you the bullet list of what branding is or what constitutes branding. In general, it really is how you make your customers feel. And that can include a lot of things. It can include everything from your logo and all the things that go along with your logo, all the way down to your customer service or all the way up to your customer service. But brand is essentially whatever your business is doing and however it communicates to customers, to your audience, to your target market, whatever. I mean, those are all synonyms. But it's when you're doing that, it's how you make your customers feel. Think about your cell phone company. We probably all have negative opinions of our cell phone company and how they make us feel. It's a necessary evil. I have to have a cell phone, which means I have to pay a company. I'm not drawn in by anything other than price, but we all know what it's like to deal with those people, and it's not a great feeling. We want our businesses to be the opposite of that. So how do we do that? Well, it starts with some really basic things. There's a few items that make up branding that are really basic that you can control 100%, and probably by the end of this next 45 minutes have answers to these questions or know what these things are. The first piece is it's your logo and every version of your logo. So I have to stop here and say there are some versions of your logo that you need. So what I'll do is I'm going to chat this while I talk, but there are some ideal file types. Most of you probably have a JPEG, right? Some of you might have a PNG. Those are just file types. And in fact, I tweeted about this, but they actually mean things, and it's super weird what they mean. If I end up with a little bit of extra time at the end, but you could Google it. It's worth a Google. It's super weird. They're like company names. It's kind of weird. So JPEG, PNG, you might have those. Those are pretty basic picture file types, right? If you're lucky, you have your PNG on a transparent background, right? Which means that your picture can be used, or your logo can be used without a white background. You can take that logo and you can put it on top of something else and it looks really cool. So most of the time when you work with a graphic designer, they're going to send you the JPEGs, the PNGs, and maybe a PNG that comes with the transparent background. If you don't have them, you need to ask for the file type, or the raw file, or the design file, and those are typically .ai files or .eps files. They could even be a Illustrator is AI, Photoshop is PSD. Sorry, I have to think out loud sometimes. It might even come as a PDF, which might throw you off, but a lot of times people will export their Illustrator file into a PDF. Those are all the versions of the file that you should have. You don't necessarily need a .ai, .eps, .psd, and a .pdf, but you at least need one of those four. And you at least need one of either a PNG and a JPEG. That's just to get the ball rolling. That a basic graphic designer can use those. And if it comes to, I'm looking for like anything branded that I have, and I'm like the worst marketer in the world right now. I don't have anything branded. But if you're going to get like a pen, oh, here, I do have a pen. So this is a pen from Isogenics. Actually, that's kind of funny. But it's branded, right? It's got their logo on it. You might not be able to see it. I don't think it's doing camera in camera, but we'll live with it. Maybe I'll stop sharing and show it to you. But if you want to put your logo on a mug or a shirt or a hat, they're going to typically ask for the EPS file. You can oftentimes send them the design file, whether it's the AI, PSD, or PDF, but you need those to do a lot, right? In sort of the normal marketing world. So what else makes up your brand? Well, it's the colors, right? So that's the game we played with Nike. That's the game we played with McDonald's, right? We think of the yellow, the white, and the red with McDonald's. That's pretty much their brand. We think about Nike. Think about any other big brand out there, and you can think about what color is their primary color. The bigger the brand, though, typically the more neutered they tend to be. Like Nike is really in black and white when you go to their website, because that allows them the flexibility to be in a bunch of different colors. Vans, typically when their logo is standalone, is like black, white, or red. Those are black, white, and red, by the way, most common branding color palette of all time. And that's not on accident. Red is a pretty common marketing color, because I think there's been studies that show our brains react positively to that. When we see red, we know to pay attention. I have orange in mine, and yellow, and a version of red, so I have all three of those bright colors. It doesn't mean you have to have that. It's just something to think about. Something else in your brand would be your fonts. And I'll tell you right now, most businesses I work with have a version of their logo. They have some version. Oftentimes, and it's probably the majority of the time, they don't have the design file. They have to go ask for it from the graphic designer. So moving forward, you always ask for that. If you have to go backwards in time and travel back in time and ask your graphic designer for it, that's fine too. Most graphic designers are good to give that to you. If you've run into the rare situation where the graphic designer is no longer in graphic design, or you can't remember who that graphic designer was, or you don't know how to get a hold of them, what you'll need to do is maybe take whatever version of your logo you have and work with a new graphic designer to have them what's called vectorize that, which would then get it back into that design file type. And that's an expense worth paying for. All right, so when it comes to the other things, most businesses have no idea what actual colors are in their branding. They don't know the PNG or the RGB. They don't know the CMYK. Those are all color codes. And they don't know the hex, which is the web-friendly code. And it doesn't matter if any of this is going over your head. It's totally fine, because we'll talk more about this as we go on. So your fonts, that's another one. Most businesses don't know what font is in their logo. So those are important things to know. If you work with a graphic designer that really knows what they're doing, oftentimes they've handed you a brand guide. I'll show you an example of one. Brand guides should have all of that in it. The brand elements are all the other pieces that go along with your logo, and we'll talk about that. So here are the versions of my logo, just to show you as a case study that I have. This one, and I just had my brand redone. I started my company over 8 years ago. I had my first logo, which I kept for several years, and then I did I actually just rebranded. I went from Tinderbox Consulting to Tinderbox Marketing. When I did that, I updated my logo and my branding. I've kept Tinderbox Marketing, but within the last 8 months or so, I decided that I needed a brand that better represented what I wanted people to think of and feel like when they thought of my brand. Our family, we're heavy outdoors. Love mountain biking, camping, hiking, the whole thing, snowboarding, skiing. So I felt like a brand that more drew on that inspiration was important to me. I'm pretty much the only one here at the company. It's me and my wife. So I felt like I could do that and make that decision. And it captures the essence of who we are as people, but also the kind of adventurous side of what we try to do with our business. So this is one I call more like the corporate version. And then I have the fun one. So this is the fun one. I love this one. It's more like a generic brand. I also have one that has marketing in it. So I could use all three versions of this. The reason primarily also that I wanted to rebrand is I saw these really cool hats that had like, I'm from Spokane. So they had Spokane on it, and they had this really cool outdoorsy thing, all like a national park or, campsite or campground kind of logo, which is what I went for here. And I saw one on a hat and I almost bought it. It was like $25 and I almost bought it. And I started thinking, why would I buy something? Spokane's great, but why would I wear Spokane around when I could wear my own business around? So I went ahead and got one with my business on it and bought 12 of these. They're already all gone. I was able to keep 2 and I had to give away the rest. When it comes to my colors, here's my color scheme. So I'll walk you through these. The hex is the top one. So anytime you see a 6 letter / digit code followed or preceded by a pound symbol or a hashtag, these are not hashtags, it's actually a pound symbol, that is your web-friendly font. That means that I can take that code and plug it into my website, and whether it's WordPress or Squarespace or whatever, and my website is going to know what that color means. RGB is red, green, blue, and that is a code. It's a number-based system for generating the color. CMYK is how most print shops work. That's how your printer usually works. You have to buy, the magenta, the yellow. Right, you have to buy those colors. So it's a 4-digit code. And then Pantone is actually like a brand. And a Pantone, a lot of promotional products companies work in Pantones. So they'll say, what's your Pantone? We can match that. Your graphic designer should be able to give you what your Pantone is. You don't always need it. In fact, the only one I use like 95% of the time is the top one. I use the hex all the time. Canva wants the hex. Your Keynote wants the hex, PowerPoint wants the hex, so you use that one most of the time. And then I do know my fonts. These are my font types, also in my brand. And I don't know if you were paying attention, but each one of my slides also comes with a brand element. So what are the brand elements? Where it's the pieces that make up your overall branding. It can be part of your logo, sometimes it's not. So fireplace was in the main part of the logo. If you were watching, the background of the one campground national park logo was a mountainscape. This is part of the second round of branding that I had. I had a lantern and some matches, so I still use those. And then one more bonus thing to think about when it comes to brand elements is when you have pictures that aren't of your team, or I call them out in the wild pictures, where it's pictures of people doing things, company-based people doing work. Those are the best marketing pictures. But if you need like a stock image or something else to use, because of the imagery I'm drawing on, I get to use a lot of outdoor stuff. So I use campfires. So I have a whole folder full of campfire pictures that I have found. And I'll tell you, there are 2 places that I like to find pictures. And I'll text or chat this to you. One is Pixabay. And the other one is Unsplash. It could be Unsplash. It might be Upsplash. It's probably Unsplash. So those are 2, and those are royalty free. You can use those at no cost. You do have to pay a little bit of attention. Sometimes you have to give credit for the photo, but they're really great pictures that you can use to help build on your brand and overall branding. All right. So with that, before I transition, do we have any questions, anything we want to cover there on brand and branding before I dip into Canva? It is Unsplash. I got it right. Thankfully, my brain is working correctly today. No? No questions? Okay. Hold on. We're going to get crazy. So here's why I like Canva. Like I said before, Photoshop, Illustrator are really great programs. You can take a lynda.com course, which is now owned by LinkedIn. I think it's called like LinkedIn Learn or something. You can take a course on that. You could spend a bunch of time learning it. It'll serve you really well, but you have to ask yourself, is there a return on that investment? All the time you spend learning that program, will there be a return on it? Versus using something that is out there that might be a little easier to use. And that's where Canva comes in. Canva is so great because it's a drag and drop graphic design program that comes with pre-formatted templates for all different kinds of things that make it easy for you to drag and drop your graphics, your pictures, everything into a template to create great graphics. Before we dig into that, I'm going to share with you a link to a brand guide that I have. It's a Google Doc, so you're more than welcome to copy this, download it, and use it. Don't edit the link I sent you, just make a copy. But that Google Doc is a template that you can use to create a brand guide if you didn't have one made for you by your graphic designer. And it's going to include the things we've already talked about. What are all the versions of the logo that you have? What are the fonts that you have? What are the colors that you have? And there's a couple other extra things in there that you'll want to pay attention to when it comes to your brand. But that's a bonus. I want to make sure we have plenty of time on Canva. We might cover that before the end. So with that said, let me share my screen again and we'll get right into Canva. All right, so thumbs up if you can see Canva. Okay. So just to walk you around, this is Canva. This is kind of your dashboard. I know it's a little busy. You'll get used to it. But we can kind of skip right into a couple things. I do pay for an account. They have a free account. And I will tell you this, the paid account is worth every penny I pay. I use it all the time. What the paid account gets you is just a few extra features like folders. It gives you better access to some stock photos, which is great. You can get some access to stock photos with a free account, but you get a bigger variety of things when you pay for it. And then you get a larger brand kit. So if you click on brand kit, now here's what's great. If you have one screen, this might be a little bit tricky for you, but if you have two screens, I would encourage you to be watching my screen on one and then playing around with Canva on the other, so you can just workshop this as we go and do it live. But the brand kit is where you can take all those things we've talked about, fonts, colors, logos, brand elements, and preload them so that they're ready for you to use. So here you can see I have all these different elements and my logo. The one thing that is missing here is my campfire. Oh, that's no big deal. I know where that lives. So I can go right to that and grab the campfire. I think I know where that lives. It should be here. And if it's not, oh, it looks like I may not have it separated out here. Oh, wait, nope, it's not in here either. But if you knew where it lived, you could add it. It looks like I somehow knew how to get it into my Keynote, but I'm not exactly 100% sure where it lives outside of that. So probably why it's not in Canva yet, right? But you could upload and add different things if you needed to. All my logos, all of my other branding are here. If you get down here further, look, there's all of my brand colors. Here are all my brand fonts, and then this is what you get. So when you do this with the free account, they're gonna limit you on how many of each of these you can do. You'll get so many brand colors, you'll get so many brand fonts that you can upload. You'll get so many options. You can upload unlimited brand logos, I think, but it's gonna limit you in the other areas. The other thing you'll get is with the paid account is these are all fonts that I've uploaded, and I get infinity. So anytime I'm using a custom font or working with a client that has a custom font, I can upload as many of those as I want. A couple of tools to think about if you don't know your fonts or you're working on a new brand or you want to have some fun, there are some really great free font websites. I think the one that I like the best is, 1001 free fonts. So you can search for them and then it's just download it and upload it right into Canva. So lots of options. You can play around with them. There's even ones that are like I don't know if they call them famous. Yep. So if you want something based on a movie or whatever, and you're trying to have some fun, maybe you're doing like a themed party, right? You could do that. I know Bernardo Wills, for example, is looking at possibly having a block party. If they felt like there was a theme they wanted to go for, like Indiana Jones, they could do it all in Indiana Jones font. So it's pretty cool. I did also want to talk about color really quick. If you want to play around with colors and figure out a nice color palette, color.adobe is a tool that I lean on all the time. What I like about this is it does do 5 brand colors. I have 6. You don't need 6. You don't even need 5. 3 would be a minimum. But you could even just search, like if you're like, hey, our business, we feel we're all about jazz and jazzy and fun in our business. You could just search jazzy and see what shows up and find a color palette that you like and adjust accordingly. This one actually is pretty cool because it shows you how it plays out in the real world. So really great tool for finding colors if you don't have them or if you want to add new ones. So back to Canva, I've preloaded all this stuff. What I want to show to you is how to actually create a design. And the one I run into the most that is wrong often is actually on social media. So when you go to Facebook, and you have to pay attention to both Facebook mobile and Facebook desktop. But these up here, right, just in basic terms, this one's typically called your profile picture, and this top one's usually called your cover photo. Twitter has a cover photo. Google even has a cover photo. LinkedIn has a cover photo. Pinterest now has a cover photo. But Instagram, all of those other ones, and Twitter, they all have a profile picture, and it's now typically in a circle. And so what you'll see a bunch is brands that can't figure out how to get their logo to fit in the circle, because they only have the JPEG version of their logo, and they have nothing else. So I'll show you my cheater way to create that, and it's super fun. So I'll just you can either click Create Design, right, and look at this. It pulls up all these things. If you're going to create from scratch your profile picture, what I typically go to is Instagram post. It's just a square, and it's a really good template to use that's pretty universal, and it's a good size. So pixels, right, that they're the square boxes. And again, if you start asking me questions about how many pixels are in an inch and all that nonsense, I'm going to tell you a big fat I don't know, because I'm not a graphic designer. Remember, this is for dummies, and I'm head dummy. So just, be gentle if you have those deep questions. Oh, thanks, Emily, for sharing that link. So I'm going to jump to mine, where I was playing around with getting my logo. So here is the square. I used, like I said, I used the Instagram one. I'm going to see if I can't make this just a teeny bit bigger. Okay. So when you go to create your first one, it's actually going to look a lot like, it's going to look blank, right? There's nothing to it. So here's where Canva gets really fun. So what I know now is I know that this is an Instagram square, which means whatever I design in here, I could actually upload as my Instagram picture, which is cool for a couple reasons. And the first reason why it's cool is because when you upload pictures to Instagram, it wants it to be in a square. So once you upload it into Instagram, or you go to share it on Instagram, if you have this nice panoramic picture that's, a 16 by 9 or is a rectangle, sometimes it's tricky to get it to fit. Well, using a tool like Canva might help you sort out how to get a square into that without having to upload it to Instagram first. But when it comes to creating a profile picture that gets your logo centered, here's what I do. Now, you'll see, here's mine. I prefer to have my logo on top of a picture, and it just adds a little bit more of an element. But if you're just like, I just need my logo to fit, that's all I care about, then what you'll do from here is you'll actually click on the logos box if you've uploaded, or the logos button if you've already pre-uploaded your logos. I have. I will pick my hardest one. So I'm going to pick this one. Typically, people struggle to get rectangle logos to fit because they are so tricky, and they don't tend to lend themselves well to the circle format, but that's okay. So what I will do is just add this here, and then if you drag it around, you'll see that Canva actually has these guides for you. So right now I know that's dead center. If I want to drag it, you'll see this other box, which sort of just acts like a safe zone, which is a printing thing. It's basically telling you, if you have the main part of your image with inside that pink box, it's probably going to show up. So I'll drag it to maybe fit the outside of that. The other thing that I love about Canva is, if you notice this blue line, I can actually crop this just by dragging this blue line. What does that look like? Oh, I can crop it. If I just wanted this to be marketing, or if I just wanted it to be my fire, I could crop it, right? It's got a really cool built-in cut crop tool. So it's just drag and drop. Now, I'm gonna make a broad stroke statement, and you can put me in SDA jail and I can never come back again. But one thing I've learned over the years is that certain generations are more comfortable with clicking around than others. And if you find yourself as an individual who's uncomfortable clicking around, because you're worried you'll break the internet, or you're worried that you'll accidentally upload all your bank account information to the World Wide Web, this is a safe zone. Once you're here in Canva, you have to click around. It's the only way you're going to figure stuff out, right? Because I'm only going to be able to show you so much. I'm trying to give you the basics to get you over that hump of feeling uncomfortable and to get used to it. But ultimately, you're just going to have to click around. The other thing you can do is you can even right click here in this, and it gives you a whole nother set of options in here. So you have to be comfortable clicking and making mistakes and getting it wrong, right? So just know that. So I'm going to drag this now to fit inside this box like I said I would. I want to make sure now it's center, so now I know it's dead center. What I do to make sure that it'll fit in the circle is I'm not uploading a circle template. They don't have one yet. So what I do is I skip over here and click on elements, and then I go to line and shapes and I hit see all. Now here's what's cool. Canva now comes with all these preloaded elements that we can add to our picture. And I'll just pick this empty circle border. I'll click on it, it adds it in, and then I will drag it to fit that pink box. And if my logo fits inside that circle, it's a safe bet it's going to show up pretty well on Facebook or any of the other social media sites. So let's give it a test run. I will download this. So all you have to do to download, again, with a free account, you can do this with anything, is click download. It will give you file type options. For what we're doing here, you can use PNG or JPEG. Oftentimes, Canva will suggest the one they want you to use. I'm going to use their suggestion. Here's another thing that's cool. If I wanted to download this as a transparent background, which I already have it, but if I wanted it to be transparent, I could actually click this and it's going to download. All the white will become transparent, meaning I could drag my logo on top of something else, right? It's a pretty cool feature. So it also means if you wanted to use Canva to create a logo or a custom logo, you could do that, and then you could even download a transparent background version of that and have that forever. It's pretty rad. Now, I'm not going to suggest necessarily that you use Canva to create a logo, but you can. I've done it. So it's something you can do. What you'll have to do then also is make sure you select the right page. So I'm actually going to download this, and we'll test it out. Let's make sure it fits. So back here on Facebook, and I know this isn't like a social media workshop, but most of us are going to be playing around with some social media platform, I assume. So what we'll do is we'll click the camera here, and we will hit edit profile picture, and then I will hit upload. And I just downloaded this, so it should be here. Oh, there it is. And there it is. It fits. If it didn't fit, I could even, do you see the circle now? It starts to show up. If it didn't fit, it might look something like this. So this is another thing, is a lot of these social media platforms actually have adjustment tools built in. You just, again, you have to be comfortable clicking on stuff and poking around. Now, I'll tell you, if I uploaded this, this is basically going to be my box rectangle logo on a white background in the circle. That's not terribly creative or sexy, right? So what you can do, yep, I want to discard all of that, is jump back to Canva, and we're going to use one of my other favorite tools. So here's where you would upload. This is your uploads tool. This is, you can see my daughter was playing around with Canva. She loves Stitch, apparently. So a lot of Stitch uploads in there. This is where you would upload stuff. It's drag and drop upload if you want, or you can just click upload media, and then here you would click your device and you would upload whatever you needed to upload. Like here's the picture of me in the hat, and you can see it's uploading, it's thinking about it. So you can upload everything here. You do get this folders option, which is how you can organize stuff. So I have my Tinderbox marketing folder. It now shows up here. I want to X out of some of these client folders just so I don't make any mistakes. So here's my folder. I can go back to uploads, and then I can drag this image. It's going to now deposit that in this folder, and you can see it there. So it does have some organization. And the cool thing about Canva, this is all web-based. So I don't have to click save. It lives here online, and then I can also access that on my mobile phone or any other device as long as I know my Canva login. So I said, I don't really like that blank white background. So the other cool thing about Canva is all these elements. They give you so many things that you can do to add into it. We talked about shapes, right? So I could add shapes. But what they have are these frames and backgrounds and grids that allow you to add pictures. So if I click this square one, it's going to take up the whole space. So what this is indicating, that's a placeholder image. This is my big caveat here. You should never see this image in anything you download. If you see this weird cartoony background landscape in anything you downloaded, you've done something wrong. Don't upload that. Don't add that to Canva. I've had clients who've done this, who didn't realize what that was, downloaded it, and then shared that on Instagram. That's weird. Don't do that. So all this is doing is this is just telling me I can add a picture to this. So if I go back to my folder and I drag this picture over, pops it right in. Now, if I double click on this picture, I can drag the picture around within the background and get it centered where I wanted it. Now, this is a stupid picture that I don't want behind my logo. So what I'll do is I'll actually grab one of my campfire logos or pictures and add that behind. So now I've added a picture much like I did here, but this seems a little busy to my eye, so I'm going to make some adjustments. Canva has some built-in filters that you can use. So I could pick one of these filters and see if maybe one of these makes it pop. This is just like an Instagram filter. Not in love with any of those. So I can manually adjust it, and I can adjust it here by just dragging and toggling any of these. So I can make it brighter or not so bright. My favorite is blur, because once you start blurring something, the front becomes more in focus. So I blur that, maybe I brighten up it, or maybe darken it, you know, kind of play around with it. Now, here's your advanced user tip. Once you're done doing this, you get this little filter code here at the bottom. You can actually copy that number and paste that into another Canva design, and it will copy all those presets over. So if you figured out how to manipulate an image to look perfect, in the internet world, in the social media world, that's known as a preset. And you could take that code, you could actually add it to your brand guide, right? You could add a section called presets. And I don't know why it's in that funky font, but we'll, you know, whatever. And you could copy this code over and now forever have your saved Canva preset. Get out of here, Anton. I don't even know what you're doing in there. Okay. Sorry, I talk to myself a lot while I'm doing these. So there's my Canva preset that I could use anytime I wanted for this background image or any other image. Once you're done here, you click download just the same, and you can download your picture and make it available as a profile picture. Whether or not you're paying for an account, you do get access to some free photos and some photos that are paid for. So here are their stock images. So if you're like, oh, the campfire was cool, but I just really want some mountains. Here are some mountains. I can pick photos, graphics, videos. So a graphic is more like a drawing, or a photo is, you know, what it is. It's a photo. You can actually, Canva even now has audio and video in there that they've preloaded that you can use. But I want photos. This one looks cool. You can see I blurred it, and it's not the one I've used, but it's pretty close. And there we go. I have a picture that I could feel good about. If you don't like exactly where it's at, you can even increase the size of it, drag it around. You can do all kinds of stuff. And there, that looks a little bit better. It pops, and I'm good to go. I can download that. I know it's like drinking from a fire hose. That's a ton. Any questions on that? You can chat me. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going, and you're just going to have to drown, right? It's okay. So I mentioned the cover photo. They have a bunch of those. How do we upload fonts? Oh, great question. So I uploaded them in my brand kit. We talked about that. Just a few. It's right here. Upload your brand fonts. Right down here, all the way at the bottom is upload a font. You can also upload it within the graphic as you're doing it by if you were messing around. We haven't even talked about adding text to it, but if we were adding text to this, say I just wanted to add some text. we would go here to text and then just hit add a heading, subheading, or look at this. They have all these pre-designed font things that you could play around with. So I'm going to do that. Free delivery, right? I don't like that though. I want to say Tinderbox marketing. Oh, I did it twice. Okay, let's do Tinderbox marketing. All right, so this is great learning, right? This doesn't fit. So the font size is too big. So it's just like anything. It's like any Word document, Google Doc, all of your font settings are up here at the top. And I just, make the font size a little bit smaller until it fits. Oh, we're there. Now here's another one, like an advanced user tip. If it doesn't fit like it did before, if it looked like this, what I do is instead of messing around with the font size, is I drag this box out till it all fits, and then I shrink it. So it's just getting familiar with how Canva works. So this is my font. I'm just playing around with it. Up here, I can change the colors, and wouldn't you know it, there are my brand colors already preloaded. So I can add my brand colors. See that? We're good to go. If you notice this, it's got this A now has 3 colors. It has the primary color and the background color. So you can go through and actually play around with the drop shadow. Oh yeah, typo. That's funny. Thankfully, I haven't exported this yet. That's a good point though. On that note, is your spell check should work, but sometimes it doesn't, right? So we got to double check things. Always have a second set of eyes. That's a proofing workshop. You'll have to attend that one later. So Kurt asked a question since I'm here. When you zoom in for a picture in the background and save it cropped, does the original background image get saved as cropped, or can you unzoom? All right, that's a great question. So Kurt, it's only changing it here in the template. If I head back to elements where I was grabbing the picture, here it is forever the same way. Same thing here. If I used any one of these images stay here in their version. It only changes once I drag it in, and you can see it added all of that adjustment to it. It does not change it over here. So you always have the original version in there. You can also undo. They have an undo button. You can also use Command or Control Z, and that'll undo everything that you did. So you have all those options for you. So typing, back to that. So, the text box works really like a Word document. Like I said, if it doesn't fit, what I do is I drag this slider to get everything to fit, and then I use this drag on the corner of the circle to fit, and then I just drag it to where center is, and now I know this is a centered font. I don't know if it's showing on your screen, but this orange shows a little blurry to me. I can't quite focus in on it. So what I do at that point is I play around and find some colors that work a little bit better. The other thing that you could do is find a background that works better, but this right here, that pops for me, and it's good to go. If I really liked this, but I didn't necessarily like this font type, I could change the font here, and then I could pick one of my branded fonts, and you'll see those here. Here are my brand fonts, and then here are my uploaded fonts. But you can also search their database of fonts. You can even just search a word. Like I always search handwriting. I always like handwriting fonts, and then here's a whole slew of fonts that are tagged as some sort of a handwriting font. So if I wanted it to look like finger paint, I could do that. And again, that font size didn't work, so I have to drag it around. And this looks like a child's brand. I don't think I would pick up any serious clients using this. So there's your rundown on creating a graphic for social media. It would work the same exact way if you needed to make one of those profile or cover photos. Those all live in here. So if you search Twitter, you'll see Twitter header. They call it a header, right? So Twitter header. Facebook, I think they still call theirs a cover. Facebook cover. Let's see if they have Pinterest in yet. No Pinterest cover. So what I do is I end up Googling it, Pinterest cover photo size, and it will tell you, and then you can edit it in pixels. LinkedIn. Let's see if they have LinkedIn's yet. Yep, they call it a banner. And there's a super weird, it's 1584 by 396. Get that one around your head, right? I don't understand that size. Here's what's also cool. If you need to create something custom, you can do that. You can hit custom size right here, and then you could do it in pixels, inches, millimeters, or centimeters. So if you're working with a promotional products guy and you're creating, like, say, a big banner printed outdoor for your party, and you know you need it in feet, and you need it 10 feet by 6 feet, right? So dimensions must be at least 1 and no more. We're not good here? Why isn't that good? 120 inches, that's not gonna work? Oh, less than. Okay, so they're not going to let me do it that way. Well, it is what it is. You'd have to work with that to fix it. Well, let's just do it this way. We'll do it's 2 feet by 1 foot. There, we can do that. So that was our banner that we were creating. And then look at here, it's actually even giving me, so this is another thing that they give you. And in every template, or every pre-built size, they give you these templates that you can work with. So if I was just making a social media graphic and I didn't want to just share a picture, I wanted to share something cool like a graphic, I could use these pre-built templates, right? And I can do that here. They have some interesting pre-built templates. So if this was a poster and I was Bernardo Wills and I was having a big block party or something, I could find one of these that I like and customize it to match. So let's just walk through that really quick to show. And look at this is a trifold brochure, it looks like, or a menu. So without oh, here's a good one. This one's pretty easy to do. So this comes preloaded with all of these elements. And all I have to do is click on the element I want to change and change it. So that's not my red, so I need to change that. That's not me, so I need to change that. Oh no, my face doesn't fit. So maybe I have to find a different picture that gets me to fit. So maybe we'll use like this one. And there we go, that one fits. And then again, we click on fonts, we could change the font colors. Here's what's awesome, we haven't covered these yet, but these elements that they have in here, these graphics, you can even often change those colors to match your colors, right? And then again, I could keep this font or I could change it to a brand font and have it match my branding a little bit more closely. And then of course I could jump in and change the text just by clicking in there and changing the text out. Let's see. To match what I need it to say. If I need it to be bigger, I can do that. Right, lots of options. It's drag and drop. So you're supposed to click and drag and do all sorts of different things. If you wanted to create something from scratch, you certainly can do that. You could add a background image here or picture. Background color. So I could change the whole background color if I wanted to. We could use the elements to grab a picture, pop in a picture. You can do a picture the hard way where, let's say you wanted a picture and you wanted to use this picture. Well, now I could drag it to fit. But if it's not the right dimensions, you can see how now I'm going to have to play around with it anyway. So using that pre-built element, the grid, right, makes it work. Or I could even add multiple pictures. So now this grid asks me to add in 3 different pictures. So I could drag in 3 different pictures and edit them around. I did not intend for my face to be so prominently displayed in the designs we were doing today, but here we are. Here's another cool thing. So you'll notice this comes with these bars, right? The white separators. You can actually edit that too. Right now it's a 10. If I wanted it bigger, I could go to 100. If I want it gone, I go to 0 and now it's gone, right? So that's pretty cool. It still shows that it's here, but I have a feeling that's not real. And it's just there it is. Yep, catching up. So then you could, you know, if you have your logo on a transparent background, you could pop it in. This is one thing that Canva does that's super weird and annoying, and I'm going to show you how I get around it. If you have a grid set up, right? So here's my grid. Let's just go with the plain grid to show you this. So let's say I'm just creating a cover or custom graphic, and I have my grid here. And what I want to do is I want to put my picture in there, and then I want to add my logo on top of it. And this is called watermarking. So if I wanted to put this picture somewhere, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knew it was me, right? Like, oh, it's not clear that these are pictures of Josh, or it's not clear that this is Tinderbox, right? So if that's what I wanted to do, I have that option. So what I would do is go to my logos, and I would pick the version of my logo that I want, and there it is. But look at it, it puts it big and it puts it in the middle. Well, Canva has a hard time telling the difference between this picture and the picture behind it. So if I adjust this and then I go to drag this, it wants to insert it into the grid, right? What it's trying to do is it's trying to insert it here, and I don't want it to do that. So what I do is, to cheat my way around that, is I leave my grid alone, but I actually just kind of drag it out of the way. I drag my logo to where I want it, or my other image that I want on top, and then I put it back. So one of the things I had as a item on the agenda was talking about watermarking. And the reason why I was talking about watermarking is really for Pinterest. Now I'm gonna intentionally get myself into some hot water here, because I'm not doing it for Bernardo Wills, and maybe I should be. And maybe we'll have this conversation offline. So here is the Bernardo Wills grid on Instagram. And you can see it's all the pictures that they have had taken. So if I was on the Discover tab here, and I was just, you know, looking for really cool things on, like design ideas, or if I was looking at cool architecture here in the Discover tab on Instagram, I don't know any of these, right? Then none of these are popping out as brands. So if one of Bernardo Wills' pictures shows up here, what's to differentiate it from any of the other pictures? So one of the things that I have talked to clients about doing, and one of the things that we might consider doing for Bernardo Wills, is adding a watermark. And what we're really just talking about is adding a logo overlay, right? So that's what I was working on here with this one, was just putting my picture or my logo on top of the picture so everybody knows that it's mine. A lot of times what you'll see though is you'll see it done in white, and then you'll see it a lot smaller and up in the corner or bottom corner. So it's a little bit, you know, more hidden. It's not taking the attention, but it's there nonetheless. And you can imagine here, if you were scrolling through, what that would look like. Here's a perfect example. So this picture tells me everything I need to know. It's Taco Tuesday at Red Wheel Bar and Grill. And then their text just builds on it. Every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, 3 tacos, chips, and salsa, $9. It's a pretty good deal. And that's a pretty full plate. I now know everything I need to know about this. So you could imagine that if this was, you know, an architecture firm, or if this was a contractor and they had their logo watermarked on it, instead of me just trying to guess who this is or clicking through to their profile, it would say Scout and Nimble, and it would be right there in the corner. That's kind of an advanced user thing, and it's not 100% necessary. And I'll tell you this right now, it's also not going to guarantee that anybody finds your brand any easier. It's just something to consider doing. All right, so with that, I have completely bumped up to the end of my time. I have gotten through just about everything. I want to show you a couple more things before we're done. I want to be respectful of your time. I totally get if you have to bail, but trying to cover all this is a little tricky because there is so much to it. But I've given you the basics. What I want to point out to you about Canva that's really cool, beyond some of the things that we've already talked about, is that they do everything from flyers. So here's a bunch of different flyer sizes, to brochures. So you could even do a trifold brochure. They even have business cards. And if you wanted to do a business card or a postcard or anything like that, you can print it directly from Canva. So let's see, these are some of my old designs. I wonder if I have, oh, here. So this was a poster I did for a company party that I had. And if you click this, print flyers, you can actually print this and have it sent to you. And you can pick your paper, you can pick the finish, you can pick whether it's double or single-sided. So you can print these and have them sent. We actually had all different kinds of graphics printed, big ones. We had poster boards printed for this party right off of Canva. I just had a client order postcards printed right off of Canva. I've had people order their business cards. So they even do business cards, and they do business card templates. So if you're not sure what you want your business card to look like, you can work through a variety of templates, and then it's like I said, you're just going through and you're customizing it. So Canva has a lot of those tools that are available to you. One more thing I want to mention before you head out is that when it comes to uploading pictures to social media sites, sites like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram all have cropping tools available to you, so you can upload that really great picture from out in the field and then crop it within the platform. They also, some of them like Instagram have filters that are built in so you can change the coloring. Facebook has the ability to do that for both Facebook and Instagram. They have a tool called Creator Studio that you can use to post to both your Facebook and your Instagram and take advantage of cropping tools and scheduling tools. So those are all built in. And then if you are a Mac user, I don't know too much about Windows, but I do know they have Paint, which isn't, it's kind of here or there. But your preview tool that comes built in on your Mac or MacBook or iMac is actually a really powerful little tool in and of itself. You can crop within it. You can even grab the background out of some pictures. They have a magic wand tool. You can do a lot of little edits using just the preview tool that comes with your Mac. So that is something that you should definitely watch like a quick YouTube video on, because your preview tool and even Paint on Windows have some features that are built in that we just don't get often, get around to using. So knowing that Canva is like your starting point, Canva is a really powerful tool that's really easy to use. And if you use this workshop as your diving board, you should be able to learn a lot quickly. They also, Canva has their own set of learning tools, and I'll make sure to get you that link before you're out of here, because it's pretty cool what they have. They call it Design School. Here's the link in chat, and you can watch a ton of videos. I have watched so many videos just trying to figure out how to do things when I get stuck. But in the last year alone, I have made, for clients and for my personal use, I have made trifold brochures, flyers, postcards, and a banner for my wife's 40th birthday that I all designed in Canva, and I am not a graphic design professional. So just to recap, start with your brand and your brand guide. Make sure you have all those things sorted out. And then once you get your Canva account, which is free, you can start preloading some of those things in there so you can start designing your own graphics. I love it as a tool for creating stuff and saving money and saving time. All right, so on that, I went 5 minutes long. I sincerely apologize. I will stick around for questions. If you have questions, feel free to use chat. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. And don't get into too much trouble clicking around on the internet. If you stay within Canva, you should be okay.
Wow. Take a breath, Josh, take a breath. Thank you. That was so much information. Thank you. My goodness. Lots and lots to follow up there. I've only kind of poked at Canva a little bit. Super excited to use some of those additional features though. Very useful. Thank you. I was struggling with a graphic just the other day, trying to fit the silly banner sizes. So thank you. All right. Well, that's it. We're going to close up the recording, and we'll get this out to folks next week. If you have any questions, you should all have my email, and I can get you in touch with Josh if need be, or maybe somebody else can help you. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.